Hello and welcome to this video. We are learning SQL with PostgreSQL. So we had this table constructed for us that is now we have that this is the table. So we have this table. We had ID, book name, author 1, author 2, author 3, author 4, ISBN, price and copies. So now we go and see more queries. So one of these is having SQL column name alias. So for example, you look at this column book name. So this is quite verbose. While selecting, we may want to rename this to simple identifier, for example, name. So we can write the query as select book name, book underscore name as name from books. Then you will see what happens. The column header is now name. So you can use it to either increase the verbosity or decrease it. Next is using the alias. This is what we have just seen is called an alias. Using an alias in a query. So suppose we select book name as name and price as cost from books. And then we want to refer to this cost in the query itself. Then what you can do is you can create a view. This is a view, and then you query upon them that, and in that query you can use the cost. So the view is select book name as name, price as cost from books, and then we select on this view, select star from where cost greater than 40. So you see what will happen is it will give you the name and the cost where the cost is greater than 50. Now this is another alias. Cost is an alias here. It is the same as price and name is another alias for book name. Now we are going to understand the limit. So suppose a table has lots of data and you want to limit the number of selected rows for any query. Then the way to do is you at the end you say limit followed by a number. That number will determine how many rows are pulled. For example, if I say limit 1, then it will pull only one row from the table. So you can see we have only one row from the table while there are a total of 4 or 5 rows in the table. Now what if we want to get the second row, but we want only second row? So you can say that limit is 1, but offset is also 1. So now you get the second row. To get to the third row, you can say offset 2. And similarly, to get to the fourth row, you can set offset 3. And then you will have fourth row. So you see, by using the combination of limit and offset, what you can do is you can paginate the table. So for example, suppose a table has 1000 rows and you have a web application where on the first page you want to show 10 rows. Then when you make the request to the backend, you say give me data for page number 1. And in the offset, the formula for that would be page number minus 1 into items per page. So items per page you want is 10 and page number is 1. So in the beginning, this will be 0. And what you do with limit is you make it items per page in your backend code. So suppose we have set to 10 because we want it to 10. So limit 10 offset 0 will give us first 10. And then for page number 2, this very offset will become 10. So offset 10 and limit 10. This will give 11 to 20. And then for page 3, it will give 21 to 30 and so on. So this is the pagination technique which people use for showing data piece by piece. Now, one thing you have to be careful about in this is that offset scans the table. So for large values of offset, as the offset will grow, the query will become slower and slower. Okay. That means beyond a certain point, it is not reasonable to use limit offset. Depending on the table and the complexity of query, it can be 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 rows, but that is the max you can go. That is, there is an upper limit after which query becomes very slow. Now, to speed that up, there is another technique which is called keyset pagination. We will see keyset pagination later on. The pagination using limit and offset, the advantage is that you can randomly access any piece of data. You want data for page number 1 or page number 2 or n, you can just give the page number and you will have the data. But in keyset pagination, you can iterate only in sequence. So we will see when we get there. Now, suppose we want to have the data output as if the book name was written by author 1 from the books. So what we do is we use double pipe, and in the quotes we write was written by, and before that we have book name and then author name from books. So if you run this, you will see what happens. So this we have not seen as book. Okay, so the book header has the text. The Art of Computer Programming was written by Nuth. Introduction to Algorithm was written by Revest. The textbook was written by Nuth. So this is how you can modify the output of your selected columns, or concatenation. That is what it is called. Next is conditional logic. Suppose we want to have an extra column which says cheap or medium or expensive, depending on the fact that price is less than 40, price is greater than equal to 40 but less than 50. And otherwise, if it is more than 50 or equal to 50, then it is expensive. So in this case, you use something called case when. So case when is written as shown in this example. So you have when, and then you give a condition, and then you follow a word by then. So again, when, then, and finally you conclude this with an else, and you then end the case when, and this extra piece of data, you provide an alias for that. And finally, if you run this, you will see what happens. So at the end, we have a column cost, which is medium, expensive, expensive, and expensive. Note that null is greater than all other things. Null is not less than 40. Null is not less than 50. Because you remember when we ordered it by cost, the null was at the bottom. That means its price is highest. So this is how you do conditional evaluation. So I think I'll stop here because there are quite a few involving queries which are coming here. So I'll stop here so that you can revise this. So if you do not understand anything, please watch the video again and try to make sense of it. And still, if it is not clear, let me know in comments and I will try to explain it in another video. So thanks a lot for watching. Happy programming.